that. You see that. A long time I'd been wanting to make a video about how to actually drive one of these big old 42-foot diesel pushers. Unwritten rules and thought processes that you learn along the way. Just to give some of my background is before I did this, I have had my Class A big truck license to drive, you know, and so I have some extra training behind me. Here's a perfect example. Coming up on somebody on the side of the road. They're driving on a flat tire like 2 miles an hour, and I'm on a bridge with confined roads. And I got cars coming up on me quick over here. I gotta get over it. Now obviously if they're right next to you, you just have to grin and bear it. But if there's any way possible that you can get over, that's something that is just kind of an unwritten rule, and in some states it is a written rule, that if there's anybody on the side of the road stranded or or any kind of official vehicles, you must get over into the passing lane. But especially when you're in something like this, because you got to remember, is it's not just the fact of that they could walk out and I might hit them. When you drive by them, the wind, the things could fly off of your vehicle. It's just unsafe to be that close going that fast. Today I thought it'd be really interesting to actually kind of talk about this, because I'm in the worst of scenarios, which is mountain driving. We're in Charleston, West Virginia right now. And it's also Memorial Weekend. So you got all of the traffic, the heavy traffic. We just went through a rainstorm and mountain driving, ups and downs. So I thought today'd be a good day to kind of broach this topic. One of the things that I think is kind of an interesting or unknown kind of thing that most people don't realize is that if you come into a city and there's 3 lanes, RVs or trucks are not supposed to be in the passing lane ever, if possible, unless you have to. Trucks especially cannot be in that lane. They'll get a ticket. That doesn't mean they don't do it. But now I prefer not to be on the inside lane, especially in city driving, because there's so much traffic merging. So I like to find a good pace and drive in the middle lane. Part of the driving in the middle lane allows me to see both sides coming. However, if there's a big truck that is coming up and he's passing, you're in his passing lane. So you need to get over and give him room to pass. That brings up another topic, and that is that I like to drive about 3 to 5 miles an hour under the speed limit. So for instance, if the speed limit is 70, I'll go between 65 and 67 miles an hour. I like to always be under as best and as much as possible. First of all, this is better for your fuel economy. It's better for wear and tear. It makes for a less stressful drive. There's lots of reasons, but it also keeps you out of the fray. Most diesel pushers, if not all of them that I know, have what's called an engine brake. The design of the engine brake is to use the exhaust to retard the motor and slow you down without using your brakes. I notice a lot of our RVers don't really know how and when to use this feature. First of all, the best time to use it, obviously, and I mean, is when it's not just when you're going downhill, but when you're going downhill at an uncontrolled rate. What happens is most RVers are using their brakes so much, they're smoking their brakes. You can literally ruin your brakes. You can actually get to the point where your brakes catch on fire, and there have been multiple cases of RVs burning to the ground, started with brake fires from them just staying on your brakes. If you're going at a slight downward, and you're going downhill and grade, and you don't want to necessarily have your engine brake on, air brakes, engine brakes, then if you're going to use your manual brakes, what you do is you press them hard to get yourself to the desired speed, and then let off. Don't ride your brakes. That's what's gonna just smoke them. But if you're going in a straight line, try never to hit your brakes when you're going around a curve either. But if you're going down a straight line, make sure that you get on your brakes hard and then get off and let the air cool them brakes again. And then you might need it again. If it's that much where you're speeding up that fast, that's when you bring in the engine brake. The engine brake is a wonderful feature, and especially in steep downgrades. One of the things that the engine brake does is, especially in like Montana and Wyoming and here in West Virginia, if I'm going to steep downgrade enough, I can literally hit the engine brake and let go. I let go of the brakes. I let go of I just literally let the truck, the coach, do the work. When you're coming up to stop traffic, as soon as you can, when you know that you're the last guy in line, which I am right now, and there's traffic coming up fast behind me, hit your hazard lights and hit your brake lights as many times as you can, just to give everybody fair warning that traffic has stopped ahead of you. One of the rule of thumbs is be on a 7-second interval. And what that means is every 7 seconds I check this mirror, and then I'll check that mirror, and then I look forward. I don't really count, but it's kind of a thing that's become a habit for me. But I'll check left mirror, right mirror to look forward, and then I even have a rear view mirror, a camera that I'll check and make sure everything's good there. Then, about every 5 minutes or so, after I do my mirror checks, I'll look down and I check my engine temperature, and then I'll check my transmission temperature. And a very important thing is to check your front and rear air, especially if you're in a diesel pusher with air suspension. I was in Montana, and I just happened to look down, and my air gauge was losing air quickly. And what happens is, when you lose a certain amount of air pressure, your brakes will literally lock up. Thankfully, I saw it going down. I was in Big Timber, Montana, and I pulled up a ramp, and no sooner had I got up the ramp and had slowed down to about 35 miles an hour, it locked up on me and we slid sideways just a little bit. So, by the way, somebody's driving up on the side. I'm gonna use my air horn here. Very unsafe. If you get an opportunity to get yourself an air horn, I don't know how I lived this long without an air horn. I love it. So grateful for it. One thing that we have learned and have become very adept to using is our GPS.
Keep to the left on I-77 North. Markers marker.
The first GPS that we use is the main one that we use, which is my truck GPS. What the truck GPS does for me is it makes sure that we don't get on roads that trucks shouldn't be on. So it takes into account our height, our width, and our length. So if there's roads that are no through trucks are allowed, this GPS would warn us of that and not allow us to be on there. The next thing that I use is my phone. I use Waze. Waze helps me tremendously. I cannot even begin to tell you how valuable Waze is to us, and that is, it's an app that you download on your phone. It's personally interactive and people interactive. In other words, it combines a satellite view with people's own interaction with it, saying, hey, there's a slowdown up here. So just then, back in the last town that we went through, I was able to see a full mile ahead that there was backed up traffic and that I should be in the right-hand lane to avoid that traffic. That's how helpful that is. If it's completely stopped traffic, then it'll divert me automatically and say, take this road here and you'll totally bypass all this. The problem is with that is I need to make sure that that is okay as far as being in a truck. The Waze app is for a car, so it doesn't take into account your size. So that's when we use the third app, and that's Gale has just regular Google Maps. And what she can do with Google Maps is she can widen out and see the entire big picture. Sometimes this map is different than this map as far as what it's telling me to do, and so I can get Gale to pull back and look and say, yeah, if you take this exit like this is telling you, or this, they both go the same place, so let's just take the truck one just to be safe. Waze also is very beneficial in that it tells you when there's accidents up ahead, tells you when there's cars on the side of the road. It tells you when there's debris in the middle of the road. It even can tell you when there's police officers up ahead. Police officers to us is not ever an issue because we're always under the speed limit. So, but it still is a benefit to have that information. So what'll happen? Let's say that I go by here and there's a big disposed tire from a big truck laying in the middle of the road. I just hit the notification and say, object on road, and it tells everybody behind me that there's something up there, so they can. So when you're coming up to it, it'll say in half a mile there's debris in the middle of the road, something like that. Just today we were driving up a big mountain, and as soon as we start driving up the mountain, Department of Transportation provides a truck lane so that you don't interfere with traffic coming up the mountain, that you can get over. I think a lot of RVers don't realize that you're supposed to be in that lane too, unless you come up to trucks that are going slower than you. Then you can use the middle lane to pass them. Today specifically, we came up behind an Allegro bus, and I guess he didn't realize that he should be over in the far lane, and apparently, I mean, either he was really heavy or he wasn't able to haul that mountain, because I came flying up behind him. This coach is fantastic. It's got 400 Cummins, and I was doing 60 miles an hour right up the steep mountain on cruise control, and he was doing about 30. So I literally could not get in the passing lane, so I had to avert and move over to the passing lane and pass him on the right side, which is a huge no-no. But he kind of forced my hand in that, because we kind of came around the corner and he's just lollygagging right in the middle of the highway, and there's a full lane ahead of him, so I just took that lane and went on right by him, and I let him know that I didn't appreciate it. But this also includes guys that are hauling trailers in a truck, and you're slowing down. Use that truck lane. That's what it's for. In other words, get out of the way. The left lane is for passing. Passing. And as soon as you get past somebody, get out of that passing lane. I don't understand where people have missed this piece of information. Get out of the way. When you're merging, somebody needs to hear this. I don't know that if anybody's ever said this to you or that you understand this. You are, as a merger, you are to yield to the flow of traffic. I see the 90% of the people, just without even looking at the flow of traffic, just get right on and just get right into traffic. I can't get out of the way, especially if there's a vehicle in this lane. I'm not getting out of the way, and you're just going to end up bouncing right into me, or I'm going to end up rolling right over the top of you. If you have to, as coming in merging traffic, it is by law your duty to yield. And if that means stopping, then stop. But I'm going to tell you that the majority of the problem would be solved if you would just gas it. Go. Most of the time, this is what I do most of the time. Go. Just go. I'm going half your speed. The pedal's on the right. Go.